Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something absolutely fascinating. We're talking about a hidden glitch in our own cognitive programming. We all like to think that we see the world clearly, right? That we make these perfectly rational decisions based on cold, hard facts. But the truth is, our brains are constantly playing tricks on our perception of reality. So we're going to explore why your mind so easily confuses high-stakes drama with everyday reality, and how recognizing this glitch can fundamentally change the way you see the entire world around you. Section 1. The illusion of fear. Okay, let's dive into this.
To really understand how our minds betray us, let's look at a super visceral real-world example. Imagine this. You're just chilling on your couch, maybe you're scrolling on your phone or watching the evening news, and you hear about a horrific plane crash. It's devastating. The images are literally everywhere. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the idea of getting on your own upcoming flight feels absolutely terrifying. Your mind instantly starts racing, right? You start thinking, wow, maybe flying is way more dangerous than I thought. Maybe I should just cancel the whole trip.
But here is the statistical reality, and it beautifully illustrates a massive cognitive dissonance. You were far, far more likely to get hurt simply driving your car to the airport than you ever were up in the air. Yet your brain doesn't react to the car ride at all. It reacts to the flight as if the sky is literally falling. So why is that? Why do we completely throw the math out the window when we feel that sudden rush of fear?
Section 2. The mechanism. Availability bias.
Let's get a little bit clinical here for a second to explain the actual glitch. What you're experiencing in that sudden moment of panic is called the availability bias. Basically, it's a mental shortcut. You see, your mind doesn't judge reality based on nice, balanced data or rigorous statistics. It judges reality based on whatever comes to mind the easiest. If you can remember it quickly, your brain just assumes it must be important. And more importantly, it assumes it must be incredibly common. If you take away absolutely anything from this explainer today, let it be this tattoo-worthy quote. Your brain confuses memorability with probability. The easier something is to remember, to imagine, or to emotionally recall, the more likely or true it feels to you. And that's not because it actually is common, but simply because it's mentally available to you right in that moment. Section 3. The ripple effect.
Now, this bias stretches way past the evening news and actively warps our daily reality. Take a classic example, like a shark attack. It takes just one viral story, one super dramatic headline, or one terrifying image, and suddenly the ocean feels like an absolute death trap. But the statistical reality? You are vastly more likely to be taken out by something incredibly mundane, like, say, slipping in your own bathtub. But hey, bathtubs don't inspire Hollywood blockbusters, do they? They don't have dramatic theme music. Sharks do.
And we see this exact same ripple effect with local crime. If your social feed is constantly flooded with robbery footage, violence, and breaking news alerts, your brain processes all that exposure, and you might genuinely start to believe that society is completely collapsing around you. But the reality, crime rates in your specific neighborhood might actually be completely stable or even declining. The issue here isn't reality, it's exposure. What you repeatedly see starts to feel totally representative of the whole world.
This brilliantly illustrates how the bias bleeds right into the business world too. Imagine you're thinking about starting a new business. What immediately comes to mind? Usually, it's these really vivid stories of startups completely failing, entrepreneurs going bankrupt, massive burnout. Your brain screams, most businesses fail. There's no way, this is way too risky. But what it's completely leaving out is the balanced data. The millions of small businesses out there operating totally fine, succeeding through careful strategy. Your memory just hands you the vivid, persuasive examples and entirely ignores the reality of calculated risk. Actually, it even sabotages our personal relationships. Think about going through one incredibly painful breakup. The next time someone tries to get close to you, what happens? Your brain instantly floods with all those reminders of betrayal, heartbreak, and disappointment. It tells you, yep, this always ends badly. But that isn't the truth at all. That is selective recall. A single, powerful emotional memory has been weaponized by your own brain to become your entire model of reality. So the really crucial point here is that availability bias doesn't just distort what you fear, it fundamentally distorts what you believe. It dictates your financial decisions and your political opinions. It completely skyrockets health anxieties, amplifies parenting fears, and heavily influences your career choices. It's happening on a massive scale, pervasively, every single day, and often without us even realizing it's going on. For example, looking at the realm of health, consider how we process information about vaccines. If someone personally knows just one single person who had a bad reaction, that one vivid, highly emotional story will very often completely outweigh millions of successful, abstract data points in their mind. The human brain just loves stories. Statistics, on the other hand, well, they feel cold. A personal anecdote feels real, even when the broader numbers tell a much stronger, entirely different story. Section 4. The multiplier, the algorithm effect. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how technology gets involved. Here is where the modern world really enters the picture. First, we have to accept a somewhat brutal truth. Your memory is absolutely not an objective search engine. It doesn't rank things by factual accuracy like a computer. Instead, it is heavily, heavily biased toward emotion, novelty, drama, and recency. What feels true to you is often simply what is easiest for your brain to recall based on those specific triggers.
And in the age of algorithms, this cognitive glitch gets incredibly amplified. Platforms are literally designed to feed you repeated, emotionally charged content because, well, that's what keeps your attention. This means availability bias is now amplified by design. You aren't just remembering dramatic things more easily anymore, you are actively being shown them more often. By force-feeding us these dramatic anomalies, platforms can systematically manipulate our perception of reality until the extreme feels like the absolute norm.
Section 5. The antidote. How to fight back and reclaim your reality. But listen, we are definitely not helpless here. There are 4 highly actionable steps you can take starting right now. Step 1. Ask for base rates. Instead of asking yourself, can I imagine this happening, ask, how often does this actually happen in reality? Step 2. Separate vividness from frequency. Just constantly remind yourself that just because an event is incredibly memorable does not mean it is common. Step 3. Diversify your information sources, because if all your inputs are emotionally extreme, your worldview is going to be extreme too. And step 4. Slow down. Availability bias absolutely thrives on instant, instinctual judgment. Slowing down and applying just a little critical thinking weakens the bias instantly. Think back to that plane crash from the very beginning of our explainer. Yes, it was an absolute tragedy. Yes, it was deeply, deeply memorable. But that does not mean it reflects everyday reality. Your brain just wants to protect you by overreacting to the things that stand out. But true wisdom is learning this fundamental rule. What is easiest to remember is not always what is most true. Reality lives in the statistics, not in the memorable exceptions. So, I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you're scrolling through your feed, or watching the news, or making a really major life decision, and something feels so obvious, so common, or so dangerously likely, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this reality, or is this just what my memory is making feel real?